All right, folks, welcome to 90.9 The Quadratic for your geometry final exam review video number 1. Guys, this is due on Monday, 50 points, very easy. Watch the video, make sure you have these answers. 75, root 75, you got to break it down. You got a pair of 5s that break out of jail, 3 left on the inside to give you 5 root 3. For 72, that's 9 and 8, 3 and 3. You got a pair of 3s and a pair of 2s that are going to go on the outside. 2 times 3 gives you 6. That plus 2 stays inside jail. Guys, the geometric mean is simply the square root of the product of the two numbers. So take 5 times 8, then take the square root of it, break it down, radical form, 2 root 10. 4, notice it says if needed, 9 times 36 is 324. If you take the square root of that, guys, you get 18. It saves a bunch of time. Simply on 5 and 6, make a proportion. X, the big heights, so the height of the big one over the height of the little guy is equal to the hypotenuse of the big one over the hypotenuse of the little triangle. Cross multiply, get your answer. Again, pause this anytime you need. Number 6, you have the height of the big guy over the height of the little guy equals the bottom of the big guy, 17, over the bottom of the little guy. Just correspond big to little. All right, that is page 1. Let's take a look here at page 2. I will give you formulas for these. This is the altitude on the hypotenuse formulas where it says the altitude, the height squared is 1 part of the hypotenuse times the other. Get 6. The other formula is the leg squared equals the whole hypotenuse times the part of the hypotenuse that touches the leg. All right, you get 4. Here you're doing the height squared is 1 part of the hypotenuse times the other. If x squared is 18, break it down, you get 3 root 2. Same questions, you just have x and y here. Height squared is 1 part of the hypotenuse times the other. Take the square root of 12, you get 2 root 3. You got the leg squared is equal to the whole hypotenuse. 3 plus 4 is 7 times the part of the hypotenuse that touches that leg. 4. Take the square root of 28, you get 2 root 7. My fault on this one, you're just solving for y. Whole hypotenuse is 13. The part that touches it is 4. 13 times 4 is 52, 2 root 13. All right, on this next one, simply cross multiply. 3 times 11 is equal to 8 times x. 7 times 15 is equal to 12 times this quantity, x plus 5. Use distribution. Solve for x and round to the nearest 10. And pause this whenever you need. Pythagorean Theorem on the next page. This is a 12 13 double. Leg squared plus leg squared is hypotenuse squared. Take the square root of 576 in your calc. You get a good one. Leg squared plus leg squared is the hypotenuse squared. The square root of 52 is a decimal, so break it down to root 13. On 16, when you square a square root, you take 4 and you square it, and that number inside the square root just drops on out. Take the square root of 10 squared, it's just 10. 42, guys, does not break into pairs, so it's just root 42. On 17, 8 squared plus x squared is 6 root 3 squared. Take 6 and square it, 36. When you square a square root, the number just drops down. 36 times 3 is 108. Root 44, when you subtract 64 from 108 is 2 root 11. It's all about a squared, it's all about c squared in comparison with a squared and b squared, folks. That is c squared. This is a squared plus b squared. So take 16 and square it. Take 11 squared and 9 squared and add them together. Notice how c squared is bigger. So if c squared is bigger, it's obtuse. When they are exactly equal to each other, it is a right triangle. And when c squared is less than a squared plus b squared, it is acute. All right. That one might be a little bit more challenging to remember for your final. Guys, 45, 45, 90 triangle, you have a side, root 2. 12, 12, 12, root 2. Again, side, root 2. So if 17 root 2 equals side root 2, your smallest side is 17, which is both x and y. For 23, 4, 8, 30, 60, 90 triangle, it goes side root 3, twice the side. So if your small side is 4, that would make this 4 root 3. That would make this twice 4 eighths. 24, same thing. If opposite, if your hypotenuse is 12, that's twice the smallest side, which means the smallest side is 6. That is opposite 30, which is y. This would be 6 root 3. No decimals. Here you can have decimals because it's all about solve for x, round to the nearest tenth. In terms of 53, that is adjacent. That's the hypotenuse. Adjacent hypotenuse is cosine. Cosine of that angle, 53, is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. You do 14.3 times cos 53. Make sure you're in degree mode in your calc. 8.6. Here you have, in terms of 31, that's opposite adjacent. It's totime, baby. Tan 31 is equal to x over 17.2. Do 17.2 times tan 31 in the old calculator to get 10.3. All right, in terms of 61 degrees, that's opposite hypotenuse. It is sine. You're going to do sine of 61 is opposite over the hypotenuse. When what you're looking for is in the denominator, that's when you divide. You do 10.4 divided by sine 61 in the calc. And lastly here, you have opposite. You have the hypotenuse. It's sine again. This time what you're looking for is in the numerator, so you're going to multiply 21.4 times sine 27. As the next two, we are looking for angles. So that is theta, round to the nearest tenth. In terms of theta, that's adjacent, that's hypotenuse, that is cosine. So cosine of what you're looking for is 7.4 divided by 13.6. In order to find your answer, you hit second cosine, cos inverse of 7.4 divided by 13.6 in your calc, get 57 degrees. On the 30 here, you have the opposite side, you have the hypotenuse. So in terms of theta, sine of theta is 8.3 over 24.7. You hit second sine, 8.3 divided by 24.7 in the calc, get 19.6 degrees. All right, on this one, folks, if I give you 51 degrees, simply do 90 minus 51 to get angle C, 39 degrees. We can all get that. Then maybe use that 51 you're initially given. That is opposites. Right there, we'll call it y. X maybe adjacent, and that's the hypotenuse. So for x, you can use cosine. Cosine of 51 is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. 14.3 times cos 51 gives you 9.0. And when you have two sides, you can use Pythagorean Theorem. You can say 9 squared plus, we'll call this y squared, is equal to 14.3 squared. Or you can also use sine, opposite hypotenuse. You can say sine of 51 is opposite over hypotenuse. 14.3 times sine 51. You should get 11.1 no matter what. I will give you the formula. Area is simply base times height. I give you the base and I give you the height. Multiply them together, 442. And folks, we'll take our first break here after 33. This is a 5, 12, 13 triangle. If you don't know that, you've got to use the old Pythagorean Theorem to figure out the heights. So the base is 27. The height is 12. That is 324 degrees. All right, it's 90.9 quadratic. Sign out for your first video.